This is Rostra, the St. Theodore Guerin Junior Classical League podcast, where we bring the lessons of classical study into the light for the benefit of all. Welcome back to another episode of Rostra. This is one of these where we've got two guests today. We got Lucy Esposito, Katie Kolb. You've both done this before, but have you done it together before?
I've never done it before.
Kate, you have.
I did it my freshman year, but I haven't done it since.
You have done it before, and Lucy, this is your first time. Okay. Let's just jump right into it. What's your topic?
So we had ancient sites in the modern Rome.
Ancient sites in modern Rome. Obviously, Rome's still a city you can go visit today, but unlike Indianapolis or Chicago, it's existed since antiquity, and so lots of cool stuff there. So talk to us. What are some ancient sites in the modern city? How do you know about this stuff? Talk to us.
We looked at the Colosseum, Roman Forum, Pantheon, and Circus Maximus.
Some of the classics that I think any tour guide would be sure to take a tour to see.
Yeah, initially we picked it because I had the opportunity to go this summer, and we actually went on a tour and visited, I think, almost every single one of them.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, and so I took pictures.
Fantastic. Now, for people listening to the podcast, you can't see the pictures, but I am looking at some absolutely fabulous. Wow, that was one that was like a night shot.
Yeah, it was really cool. We went on like a night tour to see it all.
Yeah, they do night tours of the city, just absolutely beautiful. So, okay, well, talk to us. Which one do you want to hit first?
So let's hit the Colosseum first. So it was initially built between 70 and 80 AD and by Emperor Vespasian, but it was completed by his son later. And it's the largest amphitheater. Looking at it, I mean, it's like, you think it's big, but then you see it and it's like way bigger. And it seats like 50,000 people,
About 50,000,
which for perspective, like Lucas Oil seats like 60. So like the same as a modern, which is insane.
And I'm going to say, that's the thing to think about it, is this rivals the size of a modern sports arena. And yet this thing is built 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
So extraordinary. But yeah, when you see that, I remember the first time seeing it, it just kind of heaves into view as you're coming around. You're like, oh my goodness, it's extraordinary. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's crazy. It stayed so well, like intact. Like it looks like the
Right.
picture still. Like it got hit by like earthquakes
Sure.
and some other things like that, which have like definitely taken a toll on it. But it's been really good condition.
Tremendously good condition.
And then what it was used for, mainly gladiator battles, what it's known for, but then
Right.
also animal fights. And then the thing that I found the most interesting, which I had heard about, is they would flood it with water and
Yes.
have like mock sea battles, which is like crazy, and they would reenact things like
Yes.
that, which that's just, and then they would like drain it so it'd be dry and they could do another gladiator battle.
Now, as of the recording of this episode, the sequel to Gladiator has come out, the movie. Either of you seen the Gladiator 2?
I have not, my uncle saw it. I didn't see it.
Has come out, and there is a scene where they show that, the flooding of the amphitheater, and they have a naval battle. In the other term for the Colosseum is the Flavian Amphitheater, and so they did that. Extraordinary shows that you're able to put on there. Yeah.
So, for the Roman Forum, one of the things that I learned that I didn't know is that forum means city center or meeting place, and it was the center of day-to-day Roman political, religious, and commercial life. And there was many famous structures there, like the Temple of Saturn, Arc of Septimus Severus, and the Curia.
Yeah.
And there were no shops here, so like no one was shopping. It was more just like public speeches, criminal trials, and religious ceremonies. And the Rostra, I learned, just like this podcast, is a platform where Roman leaders delivered speeches. And a bit after the Roman Empire fell, the forum stopped being used and was abandoned, and like it became a landfill, and like people started throwing trash on it. And the trash just kept building up until people forgot what it ever was. And it became known as the Campo Vicino, which meant like a field of cows, because cows and sheep were just like grazing and pooping on it. And like that was where like Caesar once declared victories, and they were just pooping on it. So I thought that was interesting. And then the excavations began in the 19th century, uncovering the ruins, and now it's a major archaeological park visited by millions of tourists.
Yeah, and if you can imagine, you think about the White House, the Capitol in Washington, D.C., and I don't know if America will still be a nation 2,000 years from now, but, it may fall the same as Rome. And you can imagine that all this falling down, people not taking care of it. Next thing you know, farmers are grazing their cattle where the White House once was, right? And so that's what you got. You mentioned the Rostra, which is obviously the name of this podcast. That's why we call it Rostra, because it was the speaker's platform where senators and people would stand up to address the Roman citizens, and so it seemed an appropriate title for it. In fact, the graphic for the show was based on a picture that I had taken of the Rostra, and then one of my students' mothers, who was an artist, painted a picture based on that, in which we have here in our room. And so then we're using that as the graphic for the show. So, but it's neat, though, as you said, to be able then thousands of people go to visit it today, and to realize you're walking where Julius Caesar walked, you're walking where Cicero walked, and all these people. So it's kind of neat and where cows walked as well. All right, what else you got?
So the next one was the Pantheon, and it was actually built 3 times before it was finally finished. And then it's the oldest structure in Rome. It was created in 27 BC, which is it's crazy to think about how old that is.
Yes.
It was alive before Jesus. I just think it's insane.
Yes.
But it was built by Marcus Agrippus, and it was originally a temple to all the Roman gods.
Yes.
But then it was later changed into a Christian church.
Absolutely. And so even though it's Roman gods, the word pan in Greek means all, and the theon part is gods in Greek. So it was a temple to all the gods. I think we're fortunate that it got converted into a church, because I think that's why it got preserved, was because of that. And now, did you see that one when you were visiting?
Yes, we did. It's funny. I always think, I loved it. But there was this clown by it, and he kept, going and, touching people and, taking people's kids. It was hilarious. But, it was just... I was you're kind of taking away from the actual thing here. But that's my pure memory from visiting the Pantheon, which I think is so fun. But then looking at the Pantheon, one of the coolest things is the hole in the top.
Oh, it was called the oculus, which is the Latin word for eye. And so it's this giant eyeball, right, looking down. And
it's huge, and they let rainwater come down through it, and so there's a drain at the bottom. And I think that's so cool, because then if it's raining, while you're in, you can literally see the rain coming through, and it's the only source of natural light in the whole place.
And it's extraordinary. The dome is this massive, unsupported dome. So there's no other supports kind of holding it up. And so the concrete gets thinner as you go towards the top, because the concrete were as thick, it would just be too heavy and it would collapse. And again, to realize we're building this thing again over 2,000 years ago, and we don't have the sorts of powered vehicles and tools and so forth, cranes and so forth, to build a modern building. This is all done just by human labor.
Yeah, that was. They started with heavy materials at the bottom, and they had limestone at the top, which is I would never think of that, but it's kind of crazy that was so long ago, and they were already doing that.
Yeah,
I think it's amazing.
Yeah, and it's gorgeous, just so well preserved, and neat.
So the last thing that we had to talk about is the Circus Maximus, which was the largest stadium in ancient Rome, measuring over 2,000 feet long and seating over 150,000 spectators, which was built in the 6th century BC and expanded by later emperors. But it was used mainly for chariot races, and it had some gladiator fights and festivals and public events. But the reason that I thought this was so cool is because people gathered each week to watch these events, and it's just football or
100%.
Baseball or all these sports that we always go and watch, and it holds more than double the capacity of the Michigan Stadium and 5 times longer than a football field, which I thought was crazy, because it's the Michigan Stadium is already huge, and it's so much bigger than that. And I also was issues that the most expensive seats in the stadium were like at the curved part because that's where the crashes would happen, and people paid a lot to see those and be by them, I guess. Which is kind of
Nothing has changed.
Yeah.
Nothing has changed. I mean, you watch the Indy 500 and it's sick, it's twisted, it's wrong, but people kind of get excited when there's a crash at turn 4. Ooh, really? Let's go watch, you know?
Yeah.
And so exactly, the same thing. People love races. It does crack me up about humanity, right? As soon as we put wheels on something, we're like, hey, I wonder if my thing with wheels can go faster than your thing with wheels. And we're now we got sport, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, a lot of that's grown over. And I don't know, did you see the area when you were there of the Circus Maximus?
Yes, I did a run, and I ran around it. It was
That's
really
so
cool. I know,
cool.
it was really cool. I ran with my dad that morning.
How ridiculously cool is
that
that?
is so
it was really
cool.
cool.
Yeah, yeah.
How long was it? Like
Long. I mean, it's
how
just
long
like,
did you run?
oh, I mean, that was just part of my run, but I just like added it on, and it's like, I mean, it feels like you're running on like something like, I mean, it is like.
Yes.
It's so old and historical and like amazing. I don't know. It's a weird feeling like you're running where like people used to like crash cars.
Yeah, well, absolutely, absolutely. Why do you think? I mean, obviously, you mentioned the church with the Pantheon. That's why it got preserved and so forth. But why do you think the fascination for people today? I mean, come on, we got we got Netflix. I mean, so why do people still want to go see these ancient things in? And it isn't just Rome. There are other cities that have these ancient ruins and so forth. Why do you think we still want to do that?
I think it's because they have like such a big influence on us. Like we said before, like these buildings influence like St. Peter's Basilica, the capital of the U.S. Like they have such a big influence on us, even if like you're not like noticing the influence. Like, and so going there is like seeing kind of what influenced like everyone.
And you can go and like imagine, like you can like walk there and imagine exactly like what it was like.
Wow, I think you just both said two things there. One, why people like to do the genealogy stuff, right? We just kind of like to know about our past and the connection. And like you were saying, I'm running in this track where people were 2,000 years ago. So I think there's that. But then Lucy, you used the word imagination. I can imagine what it was like, and I think, man, there's not much that stimulates imagination quite like being in those places, or people who travel to the Holy Land and say, wow, I'm walking in the footsteps where Jesus and the disciples were, or other, again, historical sites around the world. You start to imagine what would it have been like for me to be there and then, or what was it like for those people? Because I'm actually in this space now, and I got a little more connection there, a little more understanding. So, yeah. Would you go back?
I 100% would go back. I think there's just so much to see. It's like we were there for 3 or 4 days, and there's so much more we could have gone and done.
Yeah.
And you would need multiple trips to.
You could easily do a solid week.
Yeah. For sure.
In Rome, for sure.
Lucy?
I'm
going for spring break.
You're going for spring break? I was going to ask, are you intrigued? Do you want to go? You're inspired to go?
Yeah,
and
I just didn't want to interrupt Katie. But
and so you're going over spring break.
Yeah.
So absolutely excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. Ladies, this is absolutely fantastic. And this episode will be coming out before our spring break.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe it'll inspire some other people to go. So thank you so much. We look forward to having you back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Rostra. You may check out all our episodes on Spotify and follow us on social media at GarenJCL. That's at GuerinJCL.